Hello everybody, hopefully you're making today happy. We'll be learning 3.6. As always, feel free to pause the video at any time, ask questions, work with neighbors, just catch up with your notes, and then you can hit play when you're ready. 3.6, solve radical equations. First off, I want to discuss with you what an extraneous solution is. You might be working out a problem, do everything correctly, and get an answer at the end that just doesn't check out. That would be what is called an extraneous solution. So it's very important when you're working with equations that involve powers that you check your answers, because raising each side of an equation to a power also could introduce extraneous solutions. They are actually rare. I think in the whole entire notes today, we only will find one solution that's extraneous, but it is important to look for them. All right, go ahead and jot down this first example problem, and then we will solve it. So our first step, we cannot move the 2 or the 7 until it's out from underneath that radical. So to cancel the cube root, the cubed radical, we're going to take both sides to the third power. These are inverse operations and they'll cancel out one another. So we will now have 2x plus 7 equals 3 cubed. 3 times 3 times 3 will be 27. Now finishing this off will be a piece of cake. You'll subtract 7 from both sides, giving us 2x equals 20, and then divide both sides by 2. So everything looks great. We definitely did everything correctly, but since we raised both sides to the third power, it does become important that we check our solution. It's a really pretty quick check. We're checking that the cube root of 2 times 10 plus 7 equals 3. So just you can do this one mentally. 2 times 10 is 20. 20 plus 7 is 27. And yes, definitely, the cube root of 27 does equal 3. So just do a little quick check mark to verify your solution. And that's it. All right, next problem. Go ahead and jot it down. We're going to start off by moving that 9 to the other side. You need to do a plus 9. That gives you the cube root of x equals 8. Now we'll cube both sides. That will cancel the cube root. And 8 to the third is kind of a big number, so you might want to take your calculator and type that in. I'll let you type it in my calculator. Just put ink on myself and pause the video. All right, fixed my calculator issue, and I typed in 8 to the third and got 512. So we are going to do a quick check just to make sure 512 does work and that it's not extraneous. The cube root of 512 minus 9. So definitely probably one you'd want to type in to check yourself, unless you can cube root 512 in your head. So math 3 gives you the cube root. Oh, sorry. Math 4 gives you the cube root of 512. Hit your right arrow to get out from under the radical. Then subtract off 9. And voila, we got -1, so our answer does check. So we're good. All right, next problem. Go ahead and jot it down. Go ahead and take a guess on what we're going to do on both sides to start out this equation. Did you guess subtract 25? That would be wrong. Did you guess square both sides? Awesome. That's what we have to do. We have to square both sides to cancel out the square root. They cancel each other. They're inverse operations. That would leave us with x plus 25 equals 16. And we do a subtract 25 on both sides to get our final solution of -9. So we are going to check that. We're going to put the -9 in for x and verify that the square root of -9 plus 25 is 4. Well, -9 plus 25 is 16, and the square root of 16 is 4. So answer is verified. All right, with our next problem, this is now a 3-step problem. Go ahead and take a guess on what we will be doing first. Did you guess divide by 2? Because that is correct. Any other movement? Not quite. We're not quite ready to get rid of the cube root yet, so you need to have the 2 out of there. And you definitely don't want to move that 3 over to the other side yet. You want to save that for last. So dividing by 2 would be a great start. That would give us the cube root of x minus 3 equals 2. Let's go ahead and cube both sides to get rid of the radical next. 2 to the third equals 8. And add, oop, I wrote 2, needs to be a 3. There we go. And now we need to add 3 to finish it off. X equals 11, because 8 plus 3 is 11. Go ahead and check our answer. 2 times the cube root of 11 minus 3. Let's see if it equals 4. So it's 2 times the cube root of 8, and the cube root of 8 is 2, and 2 times 2 does equal 4. So looks like our answer's working great. You're probably thinking we're never going to get an extraneous solution. It ends up happening later on today. Our next one's a little bit different. This time we have an exponent that is a fraction. The best way to cancel out a fractional exponent is to raise both sides to the reciprocal exponent. So go ahead and write it down, and then I'll show you what I mean. So what we're going to do, and I use parentheses to do this, is we're going to raise both sides to the 3/2 powers, because these two exponents do cancel one another. And then over here, I'll raise the 100 to the 3/2 power. So you can either do that in the calculator, or you can do it mentally. I have taught you how to do it mentally, even though some people probably forget. You take your 3 to the right, you take your 2 to the left, so it's the square root of 100 cubed. The square root of 100 is 10, and then 10 cubed is 1,000. So we're looking at an answer of 1,000. Let me show you how to type that in, just in case you probably want to, because you don't like doing things mentally. You would do 100 caret key 3/2. Well, there's your 1,000. And this is an easy one to check. Just make sure that 1,000 to the 2/3 power equals 100. And it does, so the answer checks out fine. Oh, just remembered something. Can't believe I almost forgot. Hey, remember how I square rooted 100 to solve this? The square root of 100 technically is a positive or a negative 10. And if you would cube a positive 10, you'd get positive 100. But if you would cube a negative 10, you'd get negative 100. So technically our correct answer is positive or negative 1,000. And I'll just verify that. I want to verify too that negative 1,000 works as well. So I would take negative 1,000 and raise it to the 2/3 power. It's going to be positive 100 as well. So that just proves this. There is actually 2 answers to this equation. Sorry about that. Right, here's our next problem. Go ahead and write it down. Do this one together. So our first step is going to be dividing both sides by 4. So divide by 4 and divide by 4. That would give you x to the 2/3 equals 9. At this point, we're going to do what I just taught you on the previous slide. We're going to raise both sides to the reciprocal exponent. So we're going to raise both sides to the 3 halves power. Cancel, cancel. All right, so I'm going to show you how you would do it in your head, because that's kind of what's going to lead you into knowing when you're going to have 2 solutions. To do this one in your head, you take your 3 to the right, you take your 2 to the left, so it becomes the square root of 9 cubed. The square root of 9 leads you to 2 answers, positive or negative 3. But then you have to cube both positive 3 and negative 3. So positive 3 cubed is positive 27, and negative 3 cubed is negative 27. And you probably forgot, but this was a multiple choice question. And so we're going to go deep. This next one's a little bit tricky with where the negative's placed, but I do want you to pause it and go ahead and try it either by yourself or with a neighbor. And then you can restart the video when you're ready to check. All right, you back and ready to check? Our first step needs to be to subtract that 3 over to the other side, giving us a 7. And then our final step needs to be raising both sides, dividing both sides by the -1. I almost messed up. And then we're finishing off by raising both sides to the 4th power. That's a -7 there. So y equals 2401. And hopefully you checked that answer. It does end up working. 3 minus the cube root, the 4th. Oh gosh, well, 1 second. Let's check this answer super fast. Trying to concentrate too long, I think. 3 minus the 4th root, it would be 4 math 5. Give me a second to get that. 3 minus 4 math 5, 2401. Would you look at that? When I went to check my answer, it gave me 3 minus the 4th root. So 3 minus 7 and gave me -4, not 10. So there's our first extraneous solution. It doesn't mean we messed anything up in our work. It just means that solution does not work out. So since that answer is extraneous, you can either label it as such or just not include it at all in your answer blank. All right, our next problem is probably going to be our most challenging problem of the day because it involves a little bit of foiling. So go ahead and write it down. We're going to start by squaring both sides, and that's where it gets tricky. If you're going to square this right-hand side, you have to use parentheses around it. And anybody knows if you end up squaring a binomial, you have to write the binomial 2 times and FOIL. So we're going to FOIL out that right-hand side. You've done a lot of FOILing this year, so you should be really good at it. First times first is x squared. Outside times outside is 3x. Inside times inside is 3x. And last times last is 9. We're going to work on getting everything alone on one side and maybe use a little factoring to solve this. So if I would, well, first of all, I can add those 2 up and get 6x. But let's move this 10x and this 9 to the other side. And I don't know if you mind, but I'm going to do this all in one step. So minus 10x and minus 9. I'm lining them up so they'll line up with their like terms. 6x minus 10x would be negative 4x. And 9 minus 9 would give me 0, which is good. Okay, so to solve this, it's going to be pretty easy. We can just do a common monomial factoring and pull an x out front, leaving me with an x minus 4. So to finish solving, we'll use the zero product property. We basically have two things being multiplied together to give us 0, which means either this equals 0 or this equals 0. For this first one to be 0, x would be 0. For the second one to be 0, x would be 4. Because if I put a 4 in for x, 4 minus 4 would be 0. So it's very important. We have two solutions here, but it is important to check because they might both work and be awesome solutions. One might be extraneous, or they both might be extraneous. So it's a little tricky and you have to check. So where do I have space to check this? Maybe down here on the right. Is 10 times 0 plus 9, the square root of all of that, going to equal 0 plus 3? I'm out of space over there. That would be a yes, because the square root of 9 does equal 3. So that one works. 0 is fine. Let's try the 4. Is the square root of 10 times 4 plus 9 going to equal 4 plus 3? So it looks like it's the square root of 49 equaling 7. So yeah, that works. So that was shocking. Sometimes if you get two answers, one's extraneous, one is not. But in this case, they both work. Great. All right, it's been about 17 minutes so far, not counting the times you've paused the video. I think we'll do about 2 more problems and call it a day. Go ahead and jot this one down and try it all by yourself. You can pause the video and try it all by yourself. All right, you're back and ready to check. Did you add a 1 on both sides to start? Giving you a 6 over on the right. Next, we're going to raise both sides to the 4/3 power to cancel the exponent. Now think about this here. This is basically going to be the, did I mess up? Oh gosh, I did mess up. It's an 8 right here. 7 plus 1 is 8. But this basically would be the cube root of 8, the answer to the 4th. So that would be a 2 to the 4th power, so 16. And finish it off by subtracting over 2. You get a 14. So you got 14. Did you end up checking yourself? I'll check myself super fast with my calculator. 14 plus 2. We're going to take that to the 3/4 power. And then we're going to subtract off 1. Cross your fingers that we get 7. Good. So our answer is verified. All right, I'll pick a good one to be our last one. How about number 13? Here we are. Go ahead and try this all by yourself. It's a little bit different, but I think you'll be able to figure out. You can pause the video and come back when you're ready to check. All right, you're back. You want to start by squaring both sides, which actually cancels both radicals. That's a little bit wild. So you have 2x plus 5 equals x plus 7. You can move your x's over to the right-hand side. You can move your numbers over to the left-hand side, and you get 2. We definitely want to go ahead and check that answer. Just check it right here. Is the square root of 2 times 2 plus 5 going to equal the square root of 2 plus 7? So the left-hand side, I've got the square root of 9, and the right-hand side, I've got the square root of 9. So that definitely would be true. The square root of 9 is 3, so I'd have 3 equals 3, and that answer's fine. All right, let me explain what to do in the rest of the class. There's officially no homework tonight, but depending on how much time you have left in class today, you may start on the assignment from 3-6. We will have time to work on it in class today and again in class tomorrow. It'll kind of be a work day where you can ask me questions. So you can either take a picture of this or jot it down, and I will see you guys tomorrow.